Blessed Radio. It's Tuesday evening, and this is just gone past 6 p.m. UK time. It's the spiritual discussion program. Apologies for the delay. We seem to have some technical issues, but we should be okay now. I am Saad in southeast London, and now it's dark again because the sun sets early nowadays. It's been chilly today. I will say overcast. And with me, as usual, is Gregory. Gregory, how's the weather where you are?
Just like you described in London.
Okay, very good. Dear listener, as I said, this is Blessed Radio, and this is the spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Uprushing. And every week we have a new topic for discussion. The topic tonight is simplicity, clarity, and naturalness. I'll repeat that. Simplicity, clarity, and naturalness. You're welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. I'm going to begin with what is the Grail message? The Grail message in the light of truth by Uprushing is a spiritual knowledge of life. It offers an explanation of the world, a picture of creation on the basis of natural laws. Its lectures contain valuable basic elements as a help in life, for through the knowledge mediated, the readers again brought closer to life and led back to God. The Grail message deals with important fundamental questions of life by explaining in a clear and logical way the automatic working of the laws of nature, the whole weaving of creation, allowing every process to be recognized and thereby the purpose of our whole life. It is directed at the individual and speaks to the innate experiences of the human being, their strengths and weaknesses. Thus, every reader has the opportunity to discover through the intuitive perception if what is stated is the truth. Combining with matter-of-fact reasoning, a complete world picture arises, where there is no separation between the visible world and the great world beyond the five senses, nor any separation between scientific and religious striving for knowledge. I'd like to give you a couple of quotes from the author of the Grail message, Uprushing. The hearer and reader of my lectures should always work within himself, keenly probing and building bridges from one lecture to the other, as well as out into the great and small world happenings. Only then will he be able to understand the Grail message and find that it gradually shapes itself into one complete whole without leaving any gaps. Again and again in all the happenings, the reader will come back to the basic features. He can explain everything without having to change even one single sentence. The word of the Grail message lives, so that it permits only those people who really carry the honest desire in their souls to find abundantly. All else is automatically rejected by it. For the arrogant and those who seek superficially, the message will remain the book with 7 seals. And I'd like to give you one more quote from the author. I wish to fill the gaps which have so far always remained unanswered in the souls of men, and which never leave any serious thinker in peace, if he earnestly seeks for the truth. So, dear listeners, just to remind you, the topic for tonight's discussion is simplicity, clarity, and naturalness. You can join in the discussion with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. Gregory, you know, I like to always look in the dictionary, the meaning of the words in the topic, which tonight is simplicity, clarity, and naturalness. So the first word there is simplicity. And in the dictionary, I found two meanings. The first one, the quality or condition of being easy to understand or do. And they give an example for that. For the sake of simplicity, this chapter will concentrate upon one theory. So I'll just repeat that. The first meaning there, simplicity, the quality or condition of being easy to understand or do. How's that definition, Gregory?
The definition describes what simplicity is, but really hasn't defined what it is.
Okay. Let me try with another one and see if that's any better. And here it says the quality or condition of being plain or uncomplicated in form or design. And again, the example they've given here, the grandeur and simplicity of Roman architecture. Let me just repeat that one. So this is the meaning of simplicity. Another meaning, the quality or condition of being plain or uncomplicated in form or design. And they give us example, the grandeur and simplicity of Roman architecture. What would you say on that meaning there?
That is helpful, but strictly speaking, it has still not defined what simplicity is.
Okay.
How one is to recognize simplicity.
Okay, so please, can you help with a, let's say, good definition or better definition?
The definition of simplicity should provide elements or features that help to distinguish one thing from the other. So if there are no distinguishing features, then it means whoever is trying to grasp will become confused because it seems complicated. It seems that those features that they are looking out for to distinguish one, or you have a form, there must be something there in the object or whatever it is to distinguish it from another. So simplicity might be considered in that it possesses a feature, a unique feature that is used to distinguish one from another. For that's what normally happens. Oh, it's very simple. That means you must have picked out a feature that you use to distinguish. Otherwise, if there are a million features, you yourself will become confused. And you say, oh, it's complicated. So it is the uniqueness of a particular feature that is used to distinguish one thing from another that makes it simple.
Thank you so much for this answer, and can I say, yes, basically, I don't know how to put it, but so I was going to say the detail you have provided there to, help us to, find what is simplicity, you can say, or to describe to give a definition of simplicity. So, so it's like a specific, not specific, but something that you can distinguish. That's what you're saying. A feature you can distinguish from another.
A feature that one can use to distinguish.
Right.
If you look at the language in which we speak, there must be different consonants, there must be different expressions. If all the expressions were the same, how would you then grasp the language? So there must be features that is particular, that is specific to the language, and that is why we have nouns, verbs, vowels. These are the distinguishing features, and they vary from language to language. So it must be there. Even in what we ourselves claim to be beautiful, it is the same thing. There must be something there to distinguish. And that's what we hold on to.
Right. Thank you for that, Gregory. Let's say we're going to reflect on what you've said there, and try to take it in, and in a way we have to apply it, that definition, and then we can see, get an understanding by applying it. So that's what we'll do. Okay. So I feel a bit reluctant to move on to something else, but I will, because for the sake of the topic itself, and then we'll come back where we need to come back, obviously. So the next word in the topic is clarity. And the definition, again, in the dictionary I found, looks like I've got three meanings given. So I'll go slowly. The first one, the quality of being coherent and intelligible. That's clarity. That sounds very good, Gregory. What do you say on that there?
Again, it is good. However, it's more of a description rather than specific feature that one may use for clarity.
Okay. What I'll do is continue, and then we can, if there's something to add or subtract, we can do that. So they gave an example, actually. For the sake of clarity, each of these strategies is dealt with separately. Okay, I'm not sure how good is that example, so I'll leave that one. The second definition given in the dictionary for clarity is the quality of transparency or purity. Is that any use for us there, Gregory?
That's come nearest. In fact, one will almost say it is perfect. For in clarity there is transparency and there is purity.
Okay, that's good. That's good. We will definitely go and look at that. And then the third one, well, again, I'm not too sure how, it seems to be more of an example of the word. The crystal clarity of water, I think that's an example of I'm wrong there, that's not a third meaning. The crystal clarity of water, which again does show purity and transparency. So yes, I will just use that as an example. Okay, Let's move on to the third word in our keyword, I will say, in our topic, naturalness. And it says there, the quality or state of being natural. And then there's an example to give. She demonstrates an ease and naturalness that many actors try hard to project. So let me just repeat that. Naturalness, the quality or state of being natural. Is that any use for us there, Gregory? Because they haven't defined natural, though. Yeah.
Well, most of these are descriptive, but are also very helpful.
Right.
So they may be used, and in the usage, maybe there will be more clarity about it.
Okay. Because of that, Gregory, I went on to look up the word natural. And so there I found this meaning in dictionary. Exist, that is the meaning of natural. Existing in or derived from nature, not made or caused by humankind. So what basically that what is that? How do you say, what do you say about this meaning?
Again, these are expressions which can be used, but it doesn't give us the perception of completeness. It means we have to use many other supporting expressions to give a more precise impression of what naturalness is.
Okay, I will just because I was also not fully satisfied with these meanings, so I had to keep looking further as well. So the next word I looked up, which is nature. And there, meaning of nature in the dictionary says the phenomena of the physical world, collectively, including plants, animals, the landscape, and other features and products of the earth, as opposed to humans or human creation. And they give example, the breathtaking beauty of nature. So it looks like, Gregory, they're saying everything except human of invention is natural. That's what it seems to me. What do you say about this definition?
But you could see such a definition is very one-sided. After all, the humans that have been excluded from it got their form, their physical form, from out of nature. Therefore, that already provides evidence that it really is not consistent with what nature is or the way it should be viewed.
Okay. Let me. There's another meaning given for nature, and maybe that seems more, let's say, helpful. And that meaning is the basic or inherent features, character, or qualities of something. So that is the word nature there, Gregory. The basic or inherent features, character, or qualities of something. Is that any use for us in our discussion?
Again, these things are becoming very more abstract, abstracted from concepts which sometimes the ordinary person finds it difficult to articulate because they already can see inconsistencies in it.
Right. So, Gregory, would you be able to help us with a, let's say, a better definition than this? Because we
Actually, we have, the topic is simplicity, clarity, and naturalness. When naturalness is mentioned, the expression, that means in accordance with the way nature provided it. the way nature provided it is the naturalness. Therefore, one must ask, when considering the features in nature of which man of flesh and blood is also a member, if one starts with man, one would say nature has provided it with the five senses. So the five senses are natural, and everyone has five senses, unless there's some distortion. These five senses for perception, just like you have, the animals have five senses for perception, and you have in nature that which moves from one place to another has some form of sense of perception. Whereas that which is rigid in one place doesn't move, all right, responds to the challenges of nature. But these can be considered later. If one still centers on man, nature also provided us thoughts, because these thoughts is what we use. Or do we dismiss thoughts as not of naturalness? Naturalness is, like I said, the way nature provides this. So that which nature has provided, which basically for man, the five senses for perception, thoughts, and also intuitions, all these must be categorized along naturalness. That means nature has provided something. How do we use that which nature has provided us with directly? That becomes the naturalness, or the context of naturalness, that we wish to discuss.
Thank you so much, Gregory, for that answer. And what I'm seeing in this topic, that there's like a foundation necessary, if we're going to talk about simplicity, clarity, and naturalness, you could say, as a way of understanding life, we have to have a right conception of this naturalness. You could say the way the nature, you said, provided, and so in a way we need to understand nature. That's absolutely a must. And then there's some things you mentioned, the five senses. We have them. We clearly are aware of them. Then we have our words, or you could say thoughts, you said, which of course we are aware of. We have our words or actions, which you are aware of. And then there's the intuition you mentioned. Let's say, I think most of us know there is an intuition, but exactly the nature of it, I'm not sure if people are very familiar with that. Or let's say they may not be familiar the way nature provided it. So that's something that we will explore. Now, that is our, let's say, the premise, that to understand life, you have to, it needs to be understood through nature, and it'll be simple and clear. That's what we are saying. Or at least, yeah, that's the premise, as I say. But let's say in life, really, Gregory, people seem to think it's complicated, difficult. So I don't know if I can say nature has made that complicated or not, but why do we think, Gregory, or let's say many of us think that life is complicated?
Well, for some who consider life to be complicated, what they themselves haven't explained is the complications of life itself. What are these features of complication? Only then can we look into it and say, oh, these are the features. But it's a sweeping statement in which life is used, which is very generalized. So until you have the states of clarification of what they themselves refer to as life, then it is easier to look into.
Thank you for this answer there, Gregory. I want to go further into that in a moment, about life being complicated or not, in a moment. Before I do that, I just want to let the listeners know this is Blessed Radio. It's the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abdushin. And if you're interested to know more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic we're discussing tonight is simplicity, clarity, and naturalness. Simplicity, clarity, and naturalness. You're welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 00447939641958. And there's another way you can contact us, which is on the website, which is blessradio1.com. Go to that website. On the homepage, you will see a chat box, Bless Chat. And you can send your questions or comments on there to us as well. So as I mentioned, we are broadcasting on blessradio1.com, but you can also listen to us on a couple of other places. The other one is YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box, Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1, space, live stream. That's for the live show. And you can listen to the recording of this show the next day, also on YouTube. You go again to youtube.com and type in the search box, Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 again, space, Grail message, space, the topic of the show, which tonight is simplicity, clarity, and naturalness. And of course, you can listen to our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1 again. Now, we mentioned this, well, let's say there's people with having a perception that life is complicated. And but you said we need to have that sort of elaborated about what exactly we are talking about. That life is complicated. If there's something particular that makes somebody say, "Oh, this is what's happening in my life," or that is happening, and that's going making his life is somehow complicated from there. So,
sorry, may I come in?
Yes, sure.
Well, you said they use the word complicated. At the beginning of discussion, we discussed simplicity, and we said there's the need to have a feature to be used in distinguishing. So when it says life is complicated, what feature of life has that person utilized that we can now use to distinguish whether it is simple or complicated? If nothing is provided, that in itself is a complication because there's nothing.
Okay. Yes, thank you for that. And I'm just thinking of something which can be used to show, or somebody may come to that idea that, oh, life is complicated. So what could it be? Well, let me think of something, Gregory. So, for example, some people are born with advantage. I don't want to just say rich, materially rich, but it could be whatever advantage it is. And then some are born with disadvantage, let's say disabled or whatever it happens to be. It could be the material resources, it could be some other restraints, let's call it. So, and then somebody might be asking, I don't know if that's the word complicated there, but maybe that's more about why. But it could be, the complication could be why, how is it so that one person is born this way and another one is born a different way? So as I say, I'm not quite sure if that's a complicated, asking about being complicated, but maybe that question is there, that and we don't know, people don't know why they're born this way or that way. They're not told anything, oh, this is how your life is meant to be. So I'm trying to somehow bring it to complication in that, bring that concept there, but I'm not quite sure. But let's start with that question first, Gregory. How is it that it can be, that one person may be born in one situation, and let's say difficult one or challenging one, and another one with the advantageous situation, which is not so challenging. They have a lot of benefit, you can say, and they're able to progress quickly in their earthly sort of careers and, life, in that way. So, yes, can we look into that one person has an advantage over another?
What you yourself just expressed has more to do with clarity. Clarity, that is transparency and purity. It is because that particular personality lacks clarity, which clarity is again linked to simplicity. Therefore, you find that these doubts, these worries arise because this personality is unable to have clarity, which is basically transparency, into these events, into the lives of some others. Therefore, what is key here is for the personality to go back to the basics, to the feature, which feature runs through all that exists. For whoever desires explanation about life must make an effort to understand what it's all about. The basic feature which runs through all that is alive is that of motion. Motion in our thoughts, motion in our deeds, motion in nature, motion in all that we have come to know that exists, even we ourselves, motion. And like has been explained again and again, motion is basically of two types, two categories. That motion in which the end of the motion flows back to the beginning. Basically, some call it vibrations. There are different names. Any personality can easily verify this because it's simple enough. Motion in which the end flows back to the beginning. They can see in nature, all activities in nature, the coming into being, even their birth and death, all this, the human personality must investigate. That becomes very clear to it as a distinguishing feature in nature. For those who are bold enough to observe, to investigate, to ask themselves questions. So all that we know must be questioned until it can go no further. The second part of motion is that in which the end of the motion does not flow back to the beginning. This, again, can easily be verified by any person who is discerning because they wish to distinguish one from the other. Therefore, in all simplicity, just two basic features. The feature in which the end flows back to the beginning, and the other feature in which the end does not flow back to the beginning. These are simple enough. These are clear enough. That is what nature provides us. And again, these are the features that nature enables us to use. Because these features are inherent in it. Therefore, whatever deductions we are able to make from these, which deductions apply to almost everything, we may now find that these things become like laws which never ever change. For no one can deny themselves that there is no motion. For even when things seem stationary, there is still some vibrations there. So these now come to a way of asking oneself questions. This now dwells not only in our thoughts, but also in our deeds, and above all in the language which we use for communications. That language, similar to the language which we speak, first there is the need to learn the language before you start applying it. To learn a language, then it gives the impression that there is a beginning. That beginning, which is similar to that which is simple, which is similar to becoming like children. That means in our attitude, we become like children. That is why we have to learn a language. Maybe the spoken language, or the language of music, or the language of the arts. We start with simple strokes, not complicated strokes, strokes which have a beginning and the end. Strokes which have a beginning such that it goes out and returns. The end comes back to the beginning. That is what it's all about. It is very glaring. Therefore, one has to base one's perception on these. From these two simple observations, from where we have all the laws of nature, and subsequently, or by induction, one may also stress that of one's intuition, is also in motion. Therefore, if you have the states of the human personality always questioning itself, always weighing in accordance with the laws of nature or in accordance with the laws of motion, always examining in accordance with the laws of motion or the laws of nature, you then find he or she seeks diligently. And whoever seeks diligently will find. Therefore, this goes with simplicity. Because there are only two. This goes with clarity. This goes with naturalness. Because even the seasons, we talk about nature, we find they are very, very clear. There's no confusion about it. The same thing goes with objects. You are able to distinguish one object from another because there must be a feature. Even that which we call light, which is in motion, when investigated clearly, you find they are of different frequencies, they are of different colors. That is what nature has provided. We met it here. So there are features that nature has provided, therefore it is natural and simple. And now it's also clear because it's transparent. If one lacks vision, then one will not talk about clarity or transparency. Because transparency gives the strong impression of purity, clarity, translucent. One can see these things the way they are, given the features or given the talents which nature has endowed the individual. So one has to speak this way to establish a framework that motion is a law in creation, and that law in which that which we ourselves have put into creation, it will return back to us. Maybe it is the fear of realizing this that makes many a person move away, and they now say it is complicated, because many will want to reap where they have not sown. So it is best to describe it that life, living itself, is complicated, yet you don't have specific features. And they see one personality getting on with their lives, and they themselves unable to do that. But the person who is getting on with his or her life may be playing music. You yourself are not playing music. The person who is not blind has the features to be able to see. There are musicians who are blind. There are scientists who cannot see. There are mathematicians who cannot see. They did not complain, and they did the best they could. So, whenever you hear such statements, oh, it is complicated, somebody is getting on, is making progress, I myself am not making progress, then the individual needs to examine himself or herself. What is he or she doing? What is he or she sowing, in which the fruits have not ripened enough to return that which it has sown? These are the questions which the human personality must ask themselves, and they have to seek diligently for these answers.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for your answer and explanation. And again, the picture you've painted there, what I'm seeing is that we really have to come to sort of appreciate, or not only appreciate, but discover, this world of nature, nature's laws. You mentioned about the law of motion there, and I'm wondering, is it each individual has to discover these laws of nature by themselves in terms of, just experiencing life, or is it we have to learn it through, I don't know, a teaching or observation? Well, observation was experiencing life, but yes, is there something we have to, I don't know, follow a spiritual teaching, or how do we basically get to recognize these laws in a like that this is right, these are the laws, because we can't just have a thought about it. Something must be recognized there, isn't it?
We ourselves, who are the participants in nature, we ourselves are in motion. Therefore, since we know we are the participants, that means we have the capacity to move, not only physically from one place to the other, we also have the capacity to move from one place and return to the origin. That being the case, quietly, intuitively, we are like children learning the language of motion. And that being the case, there is the need to internalize that which we ourselves have learned. That being the case, there is the need to take cognizance, not only in deeds, but also in our thoughts, and above all in our intuitions. The question one might ask, what about our thoughts? Some may ask, do we even have thoughts? Don't we think? One may will be the rejoinder. So it is the way each personality has provided for itself to understand this language which nature exhibits in motion. From nature, one is able to use the power that nature has provided, or that which uses nature. And from this power, we are able to learn the language which nature speaks to us through our everyday experience. The varieties that you find amongst human personalities is the way they themselves have attuned themselves to learning this language. Many a person who has been denied opportunities in one way or the other shifted to either the arts or basically to music, only to find out that they have skills, they have talents in music or the arts, and therefore they exploit it. So you will find that deep within the human personality, there are skills. But the personality can only realize that when it is constantly in motion in their thoughts, to reach out of within themselves, to observe other people, and in the observation, not only of themselves, but also their neighbors, they are able to, first in thoughts, exchange their thoughts. They are able to make conclusions, to make deductions, to make inductions. So it's a continuous process. Rather than, oh, I must go to school to learn this. How many people have ever gone to school to learn popular music? Which popular music is so moving? Deep within them, you find they sense there is a skill. And then they build on that which they already have. Means it's already there. You only have to develop it or envelope it, which is more of development, using the skills or using the possibilities around. That's what you find with most music. Otherwise, if everyone could learn music the way we think, the professors of music would have been the best musicians. But that has never been the case. For these things, particularly with music, touches on one's intuition. The same thing one may refer to in sports. How many people have gone to university to learn to run? very few. So just as you have in music or in the arts, so in many different areas, that process of learning to master it is referred to as schooling. Question is, who are the teachers? Yourself and nature and fellow human personalities. These are your teachers. But it doesn't mean you have to go to the classroom to ask for advice, to ask for observations. The possibility is there anyway to share observations. And the idea of a school has arisen from the coming together of those with similar thoughts, such that structures will be put in place so that there will be no need to reinvent the wheel, that which has already been discovered. You can make use of that which is there. So that crowding or coming together to learn must have arisen out of the law of nature on the attraction of homogeneity. So you find this is also natural. The attraction of homogeneity or similar species is natural, which has arisen out of motion, in which the end flows back to the beginning. It's more of a crowding together. So the weighing and the examining, which each personality that has attained maturity is supposed to be engaged in, that weighing and examining helps the individual to grow, to mature, such that before long is able to understand aright the language which nature speaks to it. That language is not tied only to this classroom, but is in nature itself, in the way we ourselves interact with nature. For there are responses. There are responses which are perceptible to our five senses. There are responses which are also perceptible to our thoughts. And above all, there are responses which are perceptible to our intuitions. These are three different categories.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for this. Again, the picture you've painted there in showing us, you can say, the process of how we human beings are meant to sort of learn, develop and learn from nature, but really, how can I say, interact with nature and observe. Observe and learn, you can say, and that way things will open up for us, things will become clear for us. So yes, thank you for that. I just want to let the listeners know this is Bless Radio. It's the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program on Bless Radio from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time on Tuesdays. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Uprushing. And if you wish to know more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grailmessage.com. www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic we're discussing tonight is simplicity, clarity, and naturalness. If you have any questions or comments on this topic, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's another method you can contact us, which is on the website where we are broadcasting, which is blessradio1, that's the number 1.com. Go to the homepage, and if you scroll down, you'll come to a Bless chat box. You can communicate to us through that chat box. And we are broadcasting on blessradio1.com, as I said. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box, Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1, space live stream. That's for the live show, which is on Tuesdays, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. You can listen to the recording of this show the next day, also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box, Bless Radio 1, the number 1 again, space, Grail, message, space, the topic of the show, which tonight is simplicity, clarity, and naturalness. And of course, you can listen to our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we're broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1 again. Now, Gregory, we have these common phrases about being yourself, be natural. And what you've said up to now, it's all, how can I say, captured in these catchwords that we use. And then also, I just want to mention that earlier in the show, when I was asking about maybe somebody being born in an advantageous situation, another one born in a not so advantageous situation, and you might be wondering, oh, that's what my fate, why or one person has advantage and disadvantage. And of course, you mentioned about the laws of nature, which is really where we direct our, you can say, wishes or volition, and the laws bring the returns to us. So, we are basically making our own fate, and that's how life is. Even if we are not aware, because you might think, oh, there might be some injustice, or as I said, with advantage, there might be something like that. But when you see the simplicity of these laws, then you can say, no, it's all perfect justice. And so I want to look at it another angle, you can say. When we talk about nature, Gregory, we have not mentioned the creator or God in the sort of subject, but it's sort of, you could say, maybe people could say there is one or there isn't one. Maybe it's implied by saying nature, because some people might think, oh, if we came through nature, so maybe God is nature, or somebody may have some thinking this way. Now, I'm wondering, is there any thing that happens, you could say, outside of nature, Gregory, where, let's say, God can intervene? Because many times we hear those of us who have any such leanings about, I don't know, I don't want to use the word religious, but those who have that conception of God, they might say, God can do anything or is all powerful. And so, what the question I'm really leading to now, Gregory, is there anywhere where God intervenes to maybe help humanity where they're going astray, which is going, I don't know if I can say going outside of nature, or maybe it is within nature, or maybe it is about outside of nature. So does God intervene, Gregory, in our lives when there might be a need, you can say?
Thanks for this particular question. There is the need, again, for simplicity and clarity and naturalness, to differentiate or to distinguish between nature and the power that enables nature to be in, or the contents of nature to be in motion. That power must have the origin. Or is it possible for man to say that there is no power when there is motion continuously? Even the speech of that there is no power, which power gave the personality the possibility of motion, which therefore means the person is denying that which he himself confirms again and again. There is the need to differentiate the origin of this power, to differentiate that origin from the motion itself, which motion in simplicity lies within the laws which has accrued out of motion. That is what was mentioned when we say that in motion there are basically only two categories, two types. That motion in which the end flows back to the beginning. From that motion, one can see or perceive intuitively that of reciprocal activity. One may also call that the laws of reciprocity. The other arm that have arisen from that is also that of the attraction of homogeneity. That is why the end flowed back to the beginning. Were it not so, the end will not flow back to the beginning. So, from one feature alone, two arms have arisen, that of reciprocal activity and that of the attraction of homogeneity. The other scenario in which the end doesn't flow back to the beginning that in itself gives the strongest impression that one must be different from the other. That difference is manifested in type or in width, in density. That being the case, one can already perceive intuitively that law in which one thing is heavier than the other, that law of gravitation. So, when one examines that which we have referred to as motion, there are the contents. There is the law of motion, and there is the power. These three form the Trinity, which Trinity has always existed. Therefore, the origin of all power through the laws that has been woven in motion, in creation, in nature, intervenes again and again. Intervenes through the laws that have been woven in creation, in nature, intervenes through the contents in nature. However, the human personality is free to perceive of these interventions if it chose not to perceive of the perfect interventions through the laws of creation, through the laws of nature, then the loss is his or hers alone. So, having woven that which is perfect, complete in creation, in nature, he himself, who through motion has woven this, intervenes, but the intervention is not arbitrary. The intervention is in accordance with that which has been woven from in creation from the earliest beginning. So these laws are the manifestation of the will of the Almighty, the origin of all power. So, through the perfection of these laws of motion, this will itself is personal. So also, the contents, that which one may refer to as substantiality, through which all that exists is able to exist because it has a form which one referred to as a content. That itself is an expression of the love That love itself is personal. For more of this, the seeker or the investigator can also examine the work in the light of truth, which work exhibits what light is, which is love, and what truth is, which is the perfect will, and how this light and truth manifest in the container called creation, or a denser container called nature. How all this harmonizes, that can be found in the work, perfectly stated in simplicity, in clarity, and in naturalness. The work which we refer to as the Grail message. It is that the human seeker must examine thoroughly, must examine and weigh not only in deeds which are perceptible to the five senses, but also in thoughts. And above all, for it to become awake, it must examine in one's intuitions.
Thank you very much again, Gregory, for this answer and illustrating that how God works through his laws, the laws of nature we talked about, but we can call them the laws of God as well. And, they're interchangeable. Those words are interchangeable. And so, when you think, oh, there's certain things that cannot be done through the laws of nature, you might think that, but actually, no, they can. And what I mean is God can operate whatever is necessary, to be done within those laws. And he doesn't need to go outside of the laws or break his laws, you could say, because the laws themselves are perfect, like he is perfect. So that's how you can be sure that there will be love and justice, executed, if I can say that way, in life. Even if it might appear for us, oh, there's injustice going on, but the laws themselves, the natural laws, will ensure there is love and justice, executed. I don't know how another way to express that, but that's you can say that's how the order is maintained in this creation. So yeah, thank you for that. Now, Gregory, we talk about intuition, perception, thoughts, and but people are different. Each person is different, and they can have different ideas and thoughts, and even maybe different intuitions, and but they are acting on these features. You use the word features or abilities, however word we want to use. So my question on that is, Gregory, how can we be sure what we perceive? Let's say, is it intuition? Is it thought? Maybe even imagination? How can one distinguish if something is, and actually, let me just add something, sorry to make it a bit more complicated. How can we rely that our intuition or perceptions are correct, you can say. Yeah, so our perception of reality, let me say that way, through this intuition, through the thoughts, through the our senses, are a reality, a genuine reality, and not we might be misled through imagination or some other way. So that's what I'm asking. How can we be sure, Gregory, if our perceptions are telling the truth, you can say, or the reality, and not being misled?
Very simply, through experience. One can consider that at the beginning, if one starts from simplicity, one is able to take things in bits. Start from the little things before you go to the big ones. In that particular scenario, the personality learns to experience these little things until they become a firm structure deep within it. Because these are now firm deep within it, they now form the basis upon which finer and stronger intuition and thoughts will crystallize. Only in such a way can the human personality experience. Else, it will not experience it, and things will fly by fleetingly. Therefore, it will lack the experience. And only through experience, which becomes the fruit of one's weaving, of one's investigation, only him or her who uses the intuition, the thoughts, and the deeds, who holds them to experience, only such a personality is awake. For to be awake is to be able to use in motion the experiences that it has gathered to weigh and to examine again and again. For he or she who is awake cares. Whoever is not awake in deeds, in thoughts, or in its intuition is as if asleep and therefore not awake. Therefore, when experiences, when events come, it's unable to distinguish one from another. Therefore, to be awake is the highest. To be awake of that which happens now and use that as a gift for experiencing, such that subsequently, which we refer to as the future, the human spirit becomes vigilant, is alert.
Thank you very much for that answer there, Gregory. I've got more questions to ask you, but before I continue with them, just want to tell listeners, you're listening to Bless Radio. It's the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Upbrushing. If you wish to know more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic we're discussing tonight is simplicity, clarity, and naturalness. Simplicity, clarity, and naturalness. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And another way you can contact us is from the website where we are broadcasting, which is Blessed Radio 1, that's the number 1.com. If you go to the home page, you will see a little bit down a Blessed chat box. So you can contact us through sending messages from that chat box. As I mentioned, we are broadcasting on blessradio1.com, the number 1 there. We are also broadcasting from YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box, Bless Radio 1, the number 1 again, space live stream. That's for the live show, which is of course on Tuesdays, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. You can also listen to the recording of this show also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box. The recording is on the next day, available on the next day. So you can type in the search box, Bless Radio 1, the number 1 again, space Grail message, space the topic of the show, which tonight is simplicity, clarity, and naturalness. And of course, you can listen to our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1 again. Now, Gregory, we haven't mentioned it so far, but we human beings do have free will, you know, which means we can go with nature or we can go against nature or the natural laws in terms of our decisions. And then, you know, but we know the laws of God, of nature, which is the same as saying laws of God, are actually perfect. And so my thinking is now with that being said, that, you know, human beings can be, well, they can decide to follow or not to follow the laws of nature, which makes the human beings sort of, in a way, imperfect in their actions and decisions. Now, in terms of giving justice, that's what I'm talking about. So, specifically on the earth, I'm talking. And so I'm wondering, how does the laws of nature interact with human sort of justice system? do they interact together, or is it that the laws of nature work independently? I mean, yeah, how the human sort of decisions and actions, consequences sort of relate, and the human justice and relate with the laws of nature.
The laws of nature are completely independent of the laws which societies or the human personalities that make up societies have put in place. For these laws of nature are what is needed for life here or hereafter. So before the human personality even came into existence, these divine laws or laws of creation already existed. So they are completely independent of the activities which human personalities have now put in place. It is the laws, or it is the human personalities who should strive to grasp these laws of nature aright, such that when they then make their own laws, it will be that of one for all and all for one, such that these laws they have put in place resonate with the laws of nature. That is what is needed. There's no other thing. The laws of nature cannot now change for men, but men and their activities must change or must adjust themselves to be able to make use fully of the features of the radiations that nature provides. Else, in their lack of understanding, they themselves will weave radiations which are destructive to the sort of structures which they are putting up, as can be seen very clearly in the case of plastic, which plastics have been woven but not carefully thought about until there is so much rubbish, which rubbish does not disintegrate, remains there for such a long time and becomes a hazard.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for this answer, and again the illustration you've given there. Now, I'm thinking, Gregory, how we should perceive things. I started earlier, or mentioned earlier about advantages, people being born with advantage or disadvantage, and I'm thinking, I'm sort of comparing how animals sort of respond to their challenges and how human beings respond to their challenges. We know that life is about learning and growing, or at least for us human beings, and you could say animals as well. We are trying, we have this. We start as, let's say, on the earth as children or baby, and then go to turn into adults and live our life as adults. Similarly, the animals also. I know we don't call them babies, but they also have. You could say, I don't know how to describe it, but infants and so on, and then develop into their own adult sort of really in their growing. So what I want to ask now, Gregory, or talk about there, is we human beings, we see some things as good or bad or challenging, or as a blessing, which you could think of as maybe our opinions or perceptions. But is that really a reality, to call it a blessing or a challenge? Because why I'm saying that is, if you see life in a particular way, that is how you're going to go about the situation. You'll think, oh, it's a struggle, or you might say, oh no, it's not a, oh no, it's a challenge for me to, like something I have to overcome. So my question on that is, Gregory, these situations, is the animals, I'm looking at comparing in a way animal and the human behavior in this situation. The animals don't, I know they don't speak our language as a human, but you don't see them sort of complaining, or they just seem to accept their situation and then just work with it. With us humans, there seems to be some difference where how we have, I'm going to use the word opinion, or some sort of view about this situation as a challenge or as a blessing, and then we act according to that view. So is there something, what question I can ask on that? These opinions or views, Gregory, are there like any reality in it, or is just something that it's just how we see life, yeah, and yeah, let me say it that way. Is it any reality in the way we perceive something in this way as a struggle, or as some blessing?
Of course, the realities that appertain to the individual depends on how he or she has woven threads, which threads mature at different times and return to it that which it has woven, be it in deeds, be it in thoughts, and be it in one's intuition. Therefore, because it is each human personality is unique, the way they weave are different. That's why they are human personalities and they have free will. And therefore, the returns to them are real, even if the returns turn out to be like confusion. Confusion is real to these personalities because through their weaving or lack of investigation, that means they are not awake, or they are awake in the wrong direction. They now have a scenario in which it's like more of a quagmire. They cannot move forward or move backwards, but remain in the same place, or they keep going around in circles, unable to break away. That is the doing of the individual, which is real to it. However, the higher blessings, which enables it to perceive joy, to perceive happiness, to swim in it, becomes blocked due to its activities. For a very simple reason. he or she is like a node within the network of creation. So that which the human personality has received as a blessing, that is what the human personality must make use of and then share it out to others, must pass it on. That is simple enough. That is clear enough. So there's clarification. If, however, that which is of immense blessing is passed on to the individual, that means the individual through resonance is able to absorb of this blessing, then it becomes its task to ensure that he or she makes use of it in such a way that, number one, it becomes a blessing to it and also a blessing to others. That is what happens in music. You do not hear of a renowned musician who composes music and enters his bedroom, shuts out everybody, and enjoys it alone. How will such a person become renowned if he doesn't share? In sharing of that which he or she has perceived and has made use of it, and now shared it with others, he provides room for more to precipitate deep within him. If, however, he or she refuses to do that, then it becomes a pressure. It now forms a pressure because he is more of an obstacle. And the radiations push now against the obstacle, which he or she has created deep within himself. He becomes sullen. He becomes unwell. So the very simple impression, whoever receives must make use of it and pass it on, just like others. So you will find that again and again, it is one for all and all for one. So you will find that the human personality that has been granted the free will must make use of this free will not only to his own benefit, but also to the benefit of others. That is how it has always been. These impressions are simple. These impressions are clear. And these impressions are natural.
Thank you very much again, Gregory, for this answer. Now, I'm trying to think of another scenario, well, not scenarios, let's say, things that people come across and, let's say, are not easy for us to verify, that is real or not real. And in this case, I'm thinking about ghosts. Some people say they've claimed to have experienced ghosts or seen them. And others will say, no, they can't, there's no such thing, that's not a real thing at all. And then the person who claims to have seen ghosts relates their story. And I heard one on the radio just, I think yesterday, or today, I can't remember. It was, as I say, well, when I heard it, it was said in very like a matter-of-fact way. And basically, there were two people presenting on the radio. One person doesn't accept there's such a thing as ghost, so the other one says, "Oh yes, there is," and the one who says there is, that they experienced it, and they gave this story that they were at some, I don't know, some event or not event, some place where they, how can I say, they knew the people who were there, they saw the people who were there, and then, or let's say I'm going to make an example to make it a sort of clear example. So there, let's say 5 people together in this place, and then there's a 6th person expected to be there, and they don't. I'm trying to remember, trying to get this clearly. Trying to see if I can remember it correctly. So the 6th person didn't show up. Maybe I'm going to get this wrong. I can see that already. So let me not say that. Well, the person didn't show up, but then, so let me say like this. So say they're at the top floor of the building. So there's no, the people, there's 5 people there, but somehow another person, I don't know how to say it because I'm going to get it wrong. I just see it already. But they see somehow another person come from sort of nowhere to be there, so, which should not be possible because there are only 5 people there. So how can I put this story to not confuse people? And they're so sure that they see the 6th person, but they didn't see them enter. Let me say like that. It's a room with 5 people, and then the 6th person somehow comes into that room, and then nobody saw it enter that person. So, and this is how they say this. There's proof of somebody else. That's a ghost there. So my question is, Gregory, it's again about perception, really, and reality. When some people make claims, and such as this one, where it is not generally, how can I say, accepted that this is real or not, and then they use that as evidence to say, yes, there's such a case. How can one verify that, when you are not the person to witness it, as an outside person? Is there any way to confirm these things?
Of course, there are ways to confirm or not to confirm. You yourself use the word perception. To be able to refer to a perception, then that tool of perception must be available. There are, if you check very carefully, there are some sounds which we as human personalities cannot hear, yet the animals can perceive these sounds. Even in our vision, there is a range in which the human personality can perceive. Yet, you find there are other ranges in which vision doesn't extend. Then ask yourself, how many can see their thoughts? Do they argue about it, that thoughts or their thoughts do not exist? There's no discussion about that, because they assume that just as they have thoughts, so also are others, fellow human personalities. The word here is perception. If one observes very carefully, when you have people who like to drink a lot of alcohol, when they are done with, they come up with all sorts of stories. Because this alcohol, which interestingly or remarkably were referred to as spirits, these have an impact on their blood radiation. Could be a confused impact because they have taken too much, and they are able to perceive of so many different things which you and I are unable to see. The same thing happens with those who take drugs, heavy drugs, which to a large extent has an impact on their blood radiation, and therefore they are able to perceive that which the common man is unable to perceive. It could be some heavy radiation, very confused. These things are realities, have been investigated. The same thing when you find it said that somebody is mentally deranged, for he or she hears voices which others do not. There are some who are clairvoyant, or because of their blood radiation. There are some who are clairaudient. So there are a whole host of varieties out there. And therefore, it is not surprising and it's not rocket science when they say, oh, there is a fifth person or a sixth person. Actually, the human personality is never alone. There are many other influences. Here we are discussing. Our discussion flows through ether and in waves get to other places. Because we have the right instrument, there are some who are able to relate to our discussions, who are able to perceive of our discussions. They don't have to be here. They may have a slightly different vibration. At the same time, they are able to perceive of the thoughts which we utter out. They are able to perceive of the intuition which we utter out, and are able to participate or be listening to one's discussion. So it is not a big deal when they say, oh, somebody has, there was a fifth person or a sixth person. However, there are cases where some personality who has left the flesh, that means he doesn't possess the flesh and blood that you and I have, but for one reason or the other, he is still within the nearest neighborhoods in order to participate in these very low activities or high activities. There are some who come very close by because they like to have the feeling of smokers, or that feeling of those who drink and drink to excess, or that feeling of those who engage in some other activities. There are some who are here for noble reasons to act as support for others who are in dire need and could also advise them. Many of these scenarios can easily be verified by some who may now examine the work in the light of truth. All these things are explained in all simplicity.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for that answer. We've come to the end of the show, listeners. I'd like to read something from the Grail message, which actually gave me the inspiration for the topic tonight, which was simplicity, clarity, and naturalness. So this inspiration I got from this lecture, which is titled, lecture in the Grail message, titled Errors. And I'm just reading a section from that lecture. The mighty field of the Spirit extends through all creation. Therefore, man can, should, and must fully grasp and recognize creation. And through his knowledge, he will rule therein. But rightly understood, to rule, however severely, simply means to serve. At no point in the entire creation, up to the highest spiritual, is there any deviation from the natural happening. This fact alone surely makes all things much more familiar to everyone. The unhealthy and secret fear, the reluctance to face so many things as yet unknown, thus falls away of their own accord. With naturalness, a fresh breeze blows through the sultry atmosphere formed by the morbid imaginings of those who like to cause a stir, a great stir. Their sickly, fantastic creations, which terrify the weak and are mocked by the strong, have an absurd and childishly foolish effect on the sight that is becoming clear, and that finally, joyful and happy, takes in the glorious naturalness of every happening, which always moves only in simple straight lines that can be clearly recognized. It runs through everything uniformly, in the strictest regularity and order, and this makes it easier for every seeker to obtain the broad, free view right up to the point of his actual origin. For this he needs neither painstaking research nor imagination. The main thing is for him to stand aloof from all those who in their muddled secretiveness try to make scanty part knowledge appear greater. It all lies so simply before men that owing to the very simplicity they often do not come to recognition, because from the outset they assume that the great work of creation must be much more difficult and intricate. Here, in spite of the best volition, thousands stumble. They raise their eyes seekingly to the heavens, not realizing that without effort they have only to look before and around them. They will then see that through their existence on earth, they are already standing on the right road, and need only go calmly ahead, without haste and without effort, but with open eyes and a free, unprejudiced mind. Man must at last learn that true greatness lies only in the most simple and natural happening. That greatness implies this simplicity. So is it in creation. So also in himself, who belongs to creation as a part of it. Only simple thinking and intuitive perceiving can give him clarity. Such simplicity as children still possess. Calm reflection will show him that in the ability to comprehend, Simplicity is identical with clarity and also naturalness. The one simply cannot be thought of without the others. They form a triad that expresses one concept. Whoever makes it the foundation stone of his search will soon break through the nebulous confusion. Everything that has been added artificially will then collapse into nothingness. Man will realize that the natural order of events will nowhere be eliminated, and that at no place is it interrupted. And therein the greatness of God also reveals itself, the unchangeable vitality of the self-acting creative will. For the laws of nature are the inexorable laws of God, continually visible to all men, appealing to them, testifying to the greatness of the Creator, of an unshakable regularity, admitting of no exception. Of no exception. For a grain of oats can bring forth only oats. Likewise, a grain of wheat, only wheat, and so forth. That was a section I've just read from the lecture Errors in the Grail Message in the Light of Truth by Abrushin. And if you do wish to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that www.grail, message, MESSAGE.com. Thank you for being with us tonight, listeners, on the topic of simplicity, clarity, and naturalness. I hope you found the discussion enlightening. Gregory, is there anything you'd like to say to the listeners to say goodbye?
Wishing listeners a beautiful week.
Thank you. Same from me, listeners. Wish you a beautiful week. We'll be back as usual next Tuesday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time with another topic. Good night. God bless.